What's up, guys? Welcome back to our channel. I'm Mike.
And I'm Erin.
Today, we're just going to personally share some of the things that we do, that we practice, that help us in our relationship to like argue successfully. Say it with me, babe.
Argue successfully. And this is a big one for me because I was never taught how to do so. You think it comes naturally? It does not. It takes everything in you to want to just be like, stop, you know this is the right thing to do.
I think what you're saying is that you're learning to practice submission.
Yeah.
Right? And if you guys aren't familiar with submission, it's not me putting Ari's arm behind her back and hiking it up as far as I can until she taps out. Ultimately, it's you trusting the person that you're with, and you trust in the direction they're leading you. You could kind of like practice, because you can't be like Miss Independent all the way through, and then you get to the point of marriage and you think you're going to take a sharp right turn and be fully submissive. Okay. I think that there's small points and things that you can practice leading up into that, or developing a submissive nature as a woman.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And and you have all of those qualities, but it's when we get to this certain point when we're at a heated argument, sometimes you have a little bit of trouble, being like, ooh, okay.
Let's take that back, yeah.
It starts to get to a point where it's just for the sake of winning a fight. Not so much like, ooh, okay, this is what's best for us right now.
This morning I just had a heavy heart and a few things on my mind that I wanted to talk to Mikey about, but I just wasn't sure how to approach it because there's been other times where I've had things on my mind and I just go at it without thinking. And my tone is off. I have got attitude in full effect. And yeah, it ends up being like a 2 hour, 3 hour conversation when it could have just been like a quick 20-minute conversation where we understand each other, and so when I come to him with a submitted attitude or a humble demeanor, then he responds the same way. And that's what I learned today.
Yeah. And that's something that, we've been learning within this past week is that, I have to explain to Ari, that I want you to voice your opinions even if you feel like they're outrageous. I want you to talk to me if you have suspicion about anything, or if you feel like we're falling off in a certain area or things are not the same. Whatever the case may be, whatever complaint you have is always valid to me because you're my wife and I want you to voice your opinion because I know it's in good nature. But what we've been working on is sometimes Ari will come at me with this energy like I've already committed the crime, like it's already done. You know what I mean? And I'm like, hey, it puts me in a place feeling like I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't.
Well, because it's like what Mikey said earlier, you think you start and you get into this like deep dark hole of thoughts, and so if I wait long enough thinking about this whatever was on my mind, I'm there and I'm fully convinced and I've turned it into a reality in my mind. So at that point, I'm mad at Mikey.
I personally fight for her having a peace of mind so that she can access different things of her mind. So when it's counterproductive and she's worried about things that aren't happening, it really does fit like the cheesy acronym of fear, false evidence appearing real. It really falls into that category. So I know like a lot of couples fall victim to like things like name calling, and I would just incline you to like grow past a certain point. If you're not mature enough where you can't not call somebody a name, you probably shouldn't be in a relationship.
Have you ever done it before though? Like,
oh yeah,
me too.
I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I have, and it's through these experiences that I've personally learned, and I'm sure you have too in your past relationships. Like you've done all the wrong things, I used to do stupid stuff when I was in relationships, and I still thought I was mature around that point, but I would have these moments where I would just like fly off the handle and say something stupid or do something stupid, and it's through those experiences that you learn and become the person you are today. But it's as long as you're progressively moving in the right direction.
Some relationships go to the next level of like physical violence. It's a downward spiral for sure. But I learned quickly with Mikey because I real quick, but like I think we were just dating at this time maybe. Or so, I don't know. But I called him an idiot or something. Or stupid. Like, are you stupid? Or you're an idiot or something. You're an idiot, I said, yeah. And you were like, hold up. Like, why are you calling me this? That's so disrespectful. You don't call anybody that. And which he's right. And I'm sitting back like, oops, never doing that again. And it wasn't anything like...
She thought it was no big deal. Like no, it's okay, dummy. No, she came through with some energy. She's like, you idiot. I was like, what? She was like, what? Why are you so mad? I'm like,
yeah, what are you?
Put that on me like that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, whoa. Like, and that was the first time that you had came at me that way. And I was like, whoa, this is not cool. Like, this can't go on like this. We can't treat each other like that.
I mean, especially now that we're married. I mean, he always makes a point of it. Like, I'm supposed to be telling him things that are going to build him up, not you're an idiot, you're good for nothing. Like, that is exactly what he's going to be if I'm constantly talking to him like that, rather than you're a king.
The Bible says that, death and life are in the power of the tongue. And I would highly advise men to, like, really latch on to this part, because I know sometimes, you come home after a long day, the pressure's on for whatever season you're in your life. And your girl could be completely unreasonable about certain things that she's coming against you with, or be on a completely different note than you. And every little button that you do not want to be pushed, she's just pushing it like she's at Chuck E. Cheese at an arcade. And we say things, just out of like just pure aggression and just being angry and mad. But what you don't realize is that, again, the Bible says that your tongue is like a fire and it just burns everything down. And yeah, you can get over most of the things that you say because both of you guys know that it's a heated moment. But something happens, like you lose trust, or you take a little bit away from the relationship that you can never get back if your words are harsh enough. And I think that's one way to really, really like dry up any level of intimacy.
Yeah. There's a Mexican saying, I forget, but the English translation, I think I've told you this. It's kind of like nailing, how do I say it?
Say it in Spanish.
Oh.
Give it to us in Spanish, and then give it to us in
the problem is I don't know, it goes in Spanish. Yeah, so a piece of wood, and then you have a nail and you're hammering it in, and then you take the nail out. And so, like, even though you took that nail out, that hole is always going to be there. And that describes so many of my relationships where, as good as it was before, like, I could never regain that trust back, because there's some things that you trust your other with, and then they betray you in a way, they misuse that information to get a win. And yeah, that's hurtful emotionally, spiritually, man, sometimes physically, like,
no,
ow.
A lot of the times, like, I'm telling you, in the area of intimacy, you're gonna like dry your intimacy up with your man or your woman like a desert, honestly, because you lose that trust, and that trust, that safe feeling, translates to your bedroom. And if you don't feel safe with the person you're with, or there's hesitation, or there's like resentment, it's like a false sense of passion, but eventually it just dries up and you don't feel safe. Intimacy is built on trust and being vulnerable and feeling open. All of that translates to the bedroom. Another thing that we practice is listening to one another. You don't want to cut people off or cut your boyfriend or your girlfriend off when you guys are having a conversation.
That heats it up.
It does. And then once you get past that, and then you mature a little bit, and then you can actually listen to the person. But those people that you're talking to them, and they're just kind of looking at you, and they're like, and they're just like waiting to like tell you what they want to say. So they're just kind of like this idle head bob, like
They're listening to respond, not listen.
Yes, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's something that we try to not do, and I really try to consider how you're feeling and take in your emotions and your feelings and different things. And men, again, sometimes we automatically just jump to practicality and how we can apply the solution, and then cut out our woman's emotions. And she's like, dude, what are you, a robot?
Yeah, like my feelings count.
Yeah, and I'm just like, no, forget it. This is the solution. This is what we have to do here. And you're like, you're probably right, but did you consider my feelings at all?
Yeah.
That's something that I'm learning, to be a little bit more empathetic and really understand like where your heart is coming from.
No, yeah, you do. In the beginning, I'd get annoyed because no other man had done that. Nobody wanted to dig deep and like, no, what's the real issue here? Because you're not mad about that certain thing. I know that for sure. And it kind of annoyed me because he wanted to know more, which I should have liked. But yeah, that forces me to get more in tune with myself and communicate. That's something that I don't like to do too much.
Yeah, I personally, I just don't like surface level answers or surface level understanding of things. So I'm naturally like inclined to just ask questions. Like I want to know the root issues and why the root even has a root. You know, that deep. And sometimes Ari will feel like, I remember when we were just dating, she would be like, "Dude, do you have a microphone on? Like, are you wired? Are you sting operation?" She thought I was like gaining material for like a podcast I was doing at the time.
Yeah, I was like,
Dude,
I don't trust you.
Like, I got a van full of like 2 of my boys, and they're on the laptop, listening. Yeah, okay, ask her this. Now.
Because he asked so many questions, it almost felt like an interview, or he just really cared.
I do have an interview style of conversation.
Yeah. Okay, so our next point is giving each other the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
That one's hard for me, really, really hard for me, because I have some underlying trust issues, and they could be from my childhood, could be from my past experiences with other relationships, or an accumulation of it all. But really, Mikey deserves all the trust, but sometimes I don't know how to give it. So I am really trying to practice how to give him the benefit of the doubt, and instead of meditating on what he's doing wrong, start thinking about what he's doing right and things like that, and just believe that he is being faithful and true and honest and holy.
Holy.
It's hard because it is a crazy world.
Of course,
of
course, we have access to anything that you can think of. Somebody has done it out there, and you can watch it on the internet, or you can find out how to do it, or get involved with it, whatever it may be, good or bad. So we live in a world which is largely accessible to a lot of different temptations and different things. So I understand like where you're coming from, and
or even just wrong company. I am surrounded sometimes, not that I purposely try to be, but you can't escape that either. I, for the most part, hang out with people who are gonna build me up, encourage me, love me, and help me. But I have coworkers. I don't want to say that. Let's cut that out. But I know some people. Who, yeah, they just do not speak life into me at all, or whatever, and so then it ends up making it worse for me, thinking like, believing like there is no hope. There's no reason why I should give him the benefit of the doubt. It's just going to end up the same way as my family's or my friend's relationship or so and so's relationship or circumstance. So, yeah.
Definitely. And again, I think that circles back around to, death and life are in the power of the tongue. And, that's why it is really good to keep yourself in company of people that, acknowledge that, you're at where you're at. They're not going to like discount that and be like, no, shut up. Like, yeah, you got this. But no, acknowledge right where you're at and be like, okay, maybe you have trust issues, but God has a different name for you than untrusting, trustworthy. Start, acknowledge it, but then start to build on it and move it in the direction that it needs to be. But we come across a lot of people that in everyday life that automatically by default or just over the years have come conditioned to just nagging and complaining, and that's like the makeup of their personality, and there's just a drag, but that's just the person that they become. And when you get around people like that, it starts to rub off on you, and you start to kind of speak like that too. Or maybe if it could just be a matter of one day or a few hours in the vicinity of that type of people, and it rubs off on me personally. I'm hypersensitive to my surroundings, and I think you are too. But you can't let that rub off on you. And I personally, I try to check myself when I start to think certain things, and
or in the Bible it talks about like taking every thought captive. Because no matter what, I mean, we have this filter. So as soon as we get something that's like, your system's like, nope, you shouldn't take that in. Don't let it into your heart. You immediately capture it and you give it to God, which I'm trying to work on that. Because sometimes I do want to just sit on that thought for a little bit. Like, what if?
Yeah.
Maybe. I'm an overanalyzer, though. So that's probably why. But well, that's a tip.
What we believe all of this like leads up to, because there's a lot of like resisting and biting your tongue and holding back, like choosing things of your flesh and just giving into your current feeling at the moment, which a lot of people do on default. But what's it all for? Like, what's the point of resisting like your flesh, and what does it all lead up to? Because I think we could talk about these things in theory, but like, what's the actual result of choosing things that are more I guess, admirable and more honorable to God? Are you doing the thing that you know that you should do deep down inside, but you don't do them? And personally, to answer that question, it's a healthier relationship, a more long-lasting, fruitful relationship, one that's more enjoyable, because I think what happens is, you start off with something amazing. Most people start off pretty good, and then they move past like what most would call the honeymoon phase, and then they've had some bumps in the road and some things that they wish they wouldn't have said, and it's a slow process of chipping away at the relationship until it's whittled down to merely nothing. And that's how most relationships end. Or you have these big fights and you're not well equipped enough to handle them, so it's just swept under the rug. Or it's like trash piling up in the trash can, and it gets to a certain point after so many days, and if the weather's right, you're like, what's that smell? What is that smell? Like the whole house, like
if the weather's right.
You get to a point where you can only brush so many fights under the rug and not take out the trash, that the smell is unbearable and it has to be addressed. And at some point you just like, we just got to take out the trash, and that's really a metaphor for just ending the relationship. So take out your trash. Cleanliness is next to godliness.
Yeah.
And last but not least, I think one important thing that me and Ari really never try to veer from is that we're on teams. We're teammates, and I'm not going to handicap my teammate and then expect her to perform at the same level that she once was. Argue with the thought that this is a forever thing, to make sure that your relationship really stands and it's healthy and it maintains its longevity.
And it flourishes.
It flourishes, yes.
It soars, yeah. Because that's what we want, right? We don't want stagnant relationship, stale relationships, stalemates.
Stale, smelly relationships.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of unhappy people in relationships, and that they're compromised, or they're just shacked up, or they were codependent and they shacked up with someone that filled that codependency, and then they grow out of that codependency and they look at each other and like, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
But we just tolerate each other. You know what? You make me miserable, but guess what? I'm addicted to misery. I like this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're addicted to the hurt. There's a thing that's said that musicians, artists, they almost long for those painful situations because that's where the best art comes from. And when they don't have that emotional pain or suffering, then the art doesn't come out the same.
That's their muse.
Yeah, it's their muse. And I think sometimes we fall victim to that, and we have no talent to express that. So we're just sitting in that, dwelling in that, and that's unfortunate. I don't think anybody should live like that. I think God has definitely designed us for much more. So if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself like, man, I'm in a really bad relationship right now, but I do not have the strength to find my way out of it, what would you tell the man or the woman that is in that position now?
This probably isn't the best and encouraging thing that people want to hear at the time, but I feel at the moment it just feels like the world's ending and it's going to stay like that forever, but it eventually goes away and you're even stronger at the end of it. I do believe that. I don't mean to get all spiritual again, but I believe that God puts us in positions like that, tribulation, hardship, opposition, whatever it is, to strengthen our faith. And I mean, the purpose is to lean on Him, but when you do that, you come out stronger in your faith, stronger mentally, spiritually. You learn a whole new version of yourself that you can take into your next relationship, and it's just a better version of yourself. But I know at the time it feels like your life is crumbling down on you, but you eventually get out of it. And it gets easier. It gets a lot easier. I mean, only way... What is it? What is that saying? Only way... How does it
can only go up from here.
Oh, yes.
It's only up from here. Because the saying is that you've reached the lowest point, and that it's only up from here. And I think that's just a saying to maintain your optimism as you're finding yourself out of a dark place, right? Yeah. And as we've learned, through teachings in the Bible, that why would you go through life, miserable and in darkness, when you could have this walk with God, and you can. God's word is like a lamp to your feet. It exposes things that are around you that you didn't know, because if you're trekking in the dark, stepping on things and living with things that you never acknowledged, but then when you get the light, when you get God's word and that relationship, you turn on the light and you see what's around you, and now you know where to go. You can see your feet in which direction to go. So, if you're a religious person, be reminded of that. And if you're not, let that sink in. But personally, you know, I don't think that we would ever talk about anything that we haven't been through with, or you know, give advice or even touch on things that we're not living. So yeah, it could be tough. It could be really tough when you're trying to find yourself out of that situation, because you know, if you have a selfless heart, if you have a servant's heart, you know, you do your best for your significant other, and sometimes you find yourself very empty and you've given everything you have, and you start to live for the other person because you're so invested. But then when that ends, you find that, oh man, I gave too much, you know. Not so much, it's not that you gave too much, but when that person left, your everything, the person that you treated like God, that you put above God, it's like your God left you. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like there is no God, there is no higher power to lean on to, or any hope, no more faith after that point. That's why so many people get crushed in relationships when they end.
Yeah, and I think hopefully in the future we get to make a video on this, but that is a problem with boundaries, which I struggled with too, still do, honestly. But yes, boundaries in relationships, allowing it to get that far when you're not even married, that's what causes the hurt and the pain, that agony of, might as well kill me now.
Yes. and something that, you know, we even practice, you know, I tell Ari, you know, I don't want to be the most important man of your life. I want God to be that. Yeah. And, you know, I think that there's a prioritization and a sequence to what should be first and what should be second and what should be third, and the list goes on. And for us personally, it's keeping God first, and, you know, and through being filled and equipped that way, I can be a better man for her and she could be a better woman for me.
Yeah, sometimes it's so cute because I always tell him, like, you're like my king, you know, and he's like, I can't be that for you.
Yes.
He's like, only one person can. I remember getting a little upset about that because, you know, any guy would be like, yeah, gloating, but, you know, they just want to know, but yeah, I get what you...
No, I don't mean wrong. I like that. It makes me feel good, but, you know, I have to quickly, like, okay, no, let me give
because I can't handle that. At the end of the day, he was not meant to deal with all of me by himself. That's gonna burn him out. But thank God we have a God.
Keep God first, and then your significant other second if you are married, and your priorities may be different. But if you are married or if you're moving in that direction, you want to start to prepare your heart for God first always, and then, you know, your significant other. So we thank you for watching this video, guys. We hope that, you know, there was something that you could take away from this video. But let us know some of your tips and some of the things that you are doing in the comment section below in your own relationship. Also, if you are new, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell notification that you never ever miss a video that we put out. We love you guys, and we will see you in the next video.
Yeah.
Peace.